Welcome, brave souls, to a journey into the darkest corners of human experience. Prepare yourselves, for the truth is often more terrifying than fiction. Liam gripped the steering wheel, a wide grin stretched across his face. Beside him, Chloe belted out a pop song, off-key, but with unstoppable enthusiasm. In the back seat, Ben cracked jokes, his laughter echoing through the car. Even Mia, usually quiet, managed a small smile as she gazed out the window. 4 friends, a beat-up SUV, and the open road. It was the perfect summer road trip, one last adventure before adulthood settled in. Their destination, a music festival deep in the Appalachian Mountains. The air inside the car buzzed with excitement, a bright contrast to the endless green blur of trees outside. "Hey, guys, I found a shortcut," Liam said, tapping his phone. "Google Maps says it cuts off, like, an hour. Just a little detour through some back roads." Ben, always the skeptic, leaned forward. "Back roads? This isn't gonna turn into some deliverance nightmare, right?" Chloe swatted his arm playfully. "Don't be such a wuss, Ben. Adventure awaits." Mia looked up from her phone. Her voice was quieter. "The reviews for this road are strange. Sparse. A few people said it's kind of creepy." Liam waved it off. "Relax. It's just a dirt road. Probably some locals who don't like tourists." He turned off the highway. The smooth pavement turned into gravel. Dust kicked up behind them as the trees grew closer, their branches arching overhead, forming a thick canopy that blocked out the light. The air felt different, heavier. Still. Only the crunch of tires on stone remained. The carefree mood faded, replaced by a low, growing unease. They drove for what felt like forever. The road narrowed. The trees pressed in. Their GPS signal flickered, then died. "Great," Ben muttered, his earlier jokes replaced by tension. "Now we're really off the grid." Then they saw it. A rusty pickup truck sat in the road, hood up, blocking their path. A figure, slumped over the engine, waved them down. "Looks like someone needs help," Chloe said, already reaching for the door. "Wait," Liam warned. A chill ran through him. The figure hadn't moved. Not once. As they rolled closer, they saw the truth. It wasn't a person. It was a scarecrow. Stuffed with straw. Dressed in old clothes. Its head, a burlap sack. Tied to its chest was a blood-soaked rag. "Oh, hell no," Ben whispered, going pale. "This isn't funny." Liam shifted into reverse, but before the car could move, a sharp metallic thunk came from underneath. The vehicle lurched, then settled with a groan. A tire hissed out its final breath. They were stranded. And the silence around them had become something else. It felt like it was watching. Panic set in. No cell signal. No passing cars. Just dense forest and gravel. Liam tried to change the tire, but the lug nuts wouldn't budge. It was like they'd been welded tight. Ben, restless, stepped out. "I'm just gonna walk up the road a bit. Maybe there's a house." He disappeared into the woods. They called after him, but he was gone. A few minutes passed. Then, a muffled scream. Short. Cut off. Then silence. A silence that screamed louder than any cry ever could. "Ben!" Chloe cried, her voice cracking. Liam grabbed her arm. "No! Stay here. We don't know what's out there." They stayed close, eyes wide, listening. The trees seemed to shift around them. The forest was no longer peaceful. It was alive, and it was hunting. Time lost meaning. Each day was a waking nightmare. They were being toyed with, stalked. Messages appeared on tree bark, written in blood. "You're not alone. We see you." They saw glimpses of Ben, tied to a tree. His face swollen. Muffled cries drifting in and out of the wind. A twisted puppet show designed to break them. They tried to run, to hide. But the woods kept bringing them back. Every path led to the same clearing. Every escape attempt was met with something worse. Food ran out. Water too. Their bodies weakened, but their fear only deepened. Then, one evening, they stumbled across a clearing they hadn't seen before. In the center stood a wooden structure. Crude. Ugly. Like a cabin, but wrong. A faint flicker of candlelight came from inside. Driven by desperation, or madness, they moved closer. The air was thick with the stench of decay. And something sweet and metallic. They peeked through a crack in the wall. And what they saw? Ben. But not the Ben they remembered. His body, mutilated. Limbs twisted. Skin flayed in strips. Muscle and bone exposed beneath candlelight. His eyes, wide, empty, stared upward. Figures moved around him. Draped in dark, rough clothes. Their faces hidden by masks or shadow. They chanted in low, guttural tones. The sound vibrated in the ground. It wasn't just abduction. It was ritual. Systematic. Sadistic. And they were next. Liam, Chloe, and Mia knew there would be no rescue. No help. Only one thing left: fight. The figures in the cabin stirred. As if sensing them. Weapons gleamed in the twilight: blades, axes, clubs. There were more than they could count. "Run!" Liam shouted, shoving Chloe and Mia into the trees. He grabbed a branch, thick and heavy, and turned back. The clearing erupted in chaos. Screams. Blood. Bone. Liam fought like a man possessed. A sharp crack echoed, one masked figure collapsed. But another surged forward, axe raised high. Chloe pulled Mia through the brush. Then, a sudden snap. Pain shot through Chloe's leg. A rusty bear trap clamped shut around her ankle. She screamed, a raw, guttural sound. Mia, terrified, knelt and clawed at the trap. Her fingers tore at the rusted metal. The chanting grew louder. They were closing in. Liam saw Chloe fall. He roared, pure rage, and threw himself at the attackers. A wall of flesh between the girls and death. Mia found a rock. Slammed it against the trap. Once. Twice. Finally, the jaws released. Blood poured from Chloe's leg, but she could move. Together, they stumbled through the forest. Behind them, Liam's final screams echoed. Then, silence. They ran. Until their lungs burned. Until their bodies gave out. Finally, a road. A car. Safety. They told their story. But the police found nothing. No cabin. No bodies. No masked figures. Just empty forest. Chloe and Mia survived. But they were broken. What was supposed to be a joyful road trip had turned into hell. Now, every shadow is a threat. Every stranger a warning. The road trip abduction is over. But the fear never left. And it never will. Mark and Emily returned from their 2-week vacation in a state of blissful exhaustion. The sun-drenched beaches of Mexico had been the perfect escape from the dreary, late autumn chill of their hometown. As they pulled into the driveway, the familiar sight of their cozy 2-story house wrapped around them like a warm blanket. They were home. But that comfort would soon twist into a deep, gnawing dread. It started with a smell. A faint, nearly invisible odor, like stale sweat and damp earth. Emily noticed it first. Her nose wrinkled as she stepped into the foyer. "Do you smell that?" she asked, dropping her suitcase with a thud. Mark, too busy hauling in the rest of their bags, shrugged. "Probably just needs some fresh air." But then came the little things. A kitchen cabinet, one they rarely used, was cracked open. A single, long, dark hair lay curled on the pristine bathroom tile. It wasn't Emily's blonde. Or Mark's brown. Mark, ever the rational one, brushed it off. "We were in a hurry to leave," he said. "Probably just forgot to close the cabinet. It's just a hair, it could have come from anywhere." But Emily couldn't shake it. Something was off. Her gut told her what logic wouldn't. Something was wrong. That night, they were jolted awake. A soft sound drifted up from downstairs, like someone dragging their feet. Mark grabbed a heavy-duty flashlight and crept down the stairs, heart pounding. Nothing. The house was still. Silent. Just the way they'd left it. He returned to bed and told Emily, "It's just the house settling. Old pipes." But the doubt was already there. It had taken root. The next morning, the truth became harder to ignore. The milk in the fridge, it should have expired, was fresh. A half-eaten apple sat on the counter, its flesh turning brown. A towel, damp and reeking of that same strange scent, lay crumpled in the guest bathroom. Reality hit them like a punch to the chest. Someone had been in their house. No, someone had been living in their house. Eating their food. Using their things. Sleeping in their beds. They called the police. Their voices trembled. The officers were polite, but unconvinced. No signs of forced entry. No broken windows. No tampered locks. Maybe someone had a spare key. Maybe a house sitter got confused. A relative? An old neighbor? Mark and Emily were furious. They knew better. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an invasion. Desperate for answers, they tore through the house. Room by room. Closet by closet. In the spare bedroom, behind a stack of old boxes, they found it, a hidden crawl space, its entrance masked by a loose wall panel. Inside, a makeshift bed made of blankets and worn clothes. A few personal items, a battered paperback, a tarnished silver locket, a child's drawing. A smiling stick figure with empty eyes. Food wrappers. Dozens of them. Whoever had lived there hadn't just passed through. They'd stayed. Watched. Waited. The horror was suffocating. They hadn't been alone. They'd been living with a silent parasite. A ghost made of flesh. And then, they realized the squatter hadn't left. The signs became clearer. More deliberate. A door they had just closed, now stood open. A TV they had turned off, flicked on by itself, the volume turned low. The feeling of being watched wasn't paranoia anymore. It was real. It weighed on them, thick, constant, crushing. Their home had become a prison. And they were no longer the only ones inside. Then came the messages. Notes, left in plain sight. Childish, shaky handwriting. "I see you," read one, left on their pillow. "You're not alone," said another, taped to the bathroom mirror. Emily's jewelry was found arranged in a spiral on her dresser. Mark's tools, laid out like surgical instruments in the garage. The squatter wasn't hiding anymore. They were taunting them, taking ownership of the house. Mark and Emily tried to fight back. They built makeshift alarms, barricaded their bedroom door. But the squatter was always one step ahead. They heard tapping sounds inside the walls. Soft, rhythmic, then silence. Then more tapping, like Morse code from a nightmare. Relentless, cruel. They were being hunted. Inside their own home. One night, everything changed. Emily was in the kitchen, making tea. A floorboard creaked directly above her. She froze. Mark was in the living room. They were supposed to be alone. She backed away, eyes locked on the ceiling. Then, a shadow. In the hallway. Human. Real. Moving. She gasped. Couldn't scream. Mark heard it and came running. He saw the figure too, just a glimpse as it vanished into the spare bedroom. The game was over. The hunt had begun. They armed themselves. Emily with a kitchen knife. Mark with a fireplace poker. They moved room to room. Quiet. Careful. Ready. The spare bedroom was empty. But the window was open. The curtains swaying in the night air. Had the squatter escaped? Or was it a trick? Then, behind them, the closet door slammed shut. They turned. The squatter was in the room. From the shadows, a figure emerged. Small. Wiry. Wearing a mask, a grotesque, smiling face. Its movements were unnatural. Puppet-like. In its hand, a long, thin blade, shining under the moonlight. Mark attacked first. The poker swung wide. The figure dodged with eerie grace and slashed. The blade caught Mark's arm. He cried out and stumbled back. Emily screamed, raw and primal, and charged with the knife. The figure turned. Faceless. Silent. They clashed. Furniture shattered. Grunts. Screams. The sound of steel hitting flesh. Mark, bleeding but furious, rejoined the fight. He swung wildly, and the poker struck true. A loud crack. The figure fell. The mask broke loose. Underneath, a young woman. Eyes wide. Empty. Mad. She had haunted their home. And now, she was gone. They survived. But their home did not. It became a crime scene. A scar on their memory. They sold the house. Left the city. Started over. But the fear never left. Every creak. Every shadow. Every unexplained sound brought it all back. The uninvited guest was gone. But the fear she left behind was forever. Sarah's suburban house was her sanctuary, a quiet haven nestled on a tree-lined street, where the loudest sound was usually the rustle of leaves or a distant bark from a neighbor's dog. At 32, she cherished her independence. She loved the freedom of a space entirely her own. She had spent years building this peaceful life, a sharp contrast to the noisy, chaotic apartments of her 20s. Here, she felt safe. Truly safe. But that feeling was about to be ripped away. The first call came just after midnight. Sarah, still half asleep, fumbled for her phone on the nightstand. The caller ID was blocked. "Hello," she mumbled, her voice heavy with sleep. Silence. Not the click of a dropped call, or even static. Just silence. Deep and uncomfortable, like someone holding their breath. "Hello," she said again, her tone now tinged with confusion. Still nothing. She hung up and rolled over. Probably a wrong number. Maybe a prank. A flicker of unease passed through her, but it was gone just as quickly. She pulled the blanket tighter and drifted back to sleep. But the calls continued. Every night. Just after midnight. Sometimes once. Sometimes twice. Sometimes 3 times. Always from a blocked number. Always silent. At first, she was just annoyed. Then, the anxiety crept in. She began checking her phone before bed, putting it on silent mode, but the vibrations still woke her up. The silence on the other end stopped feeling like nothing. It started to feel like someone. A presence. Waiting. Watching. She found herself staring at the bedroom window at night. Sometimes she thought she saw movement, a shape, just beyond the tree outside. Maybe it was a shadow. Or maybe something more. Her home, once a peaceful retreat, was beginning to feel like a glass box. Then came the whispers. They started faint, almost impossible to hear. Like static on an old radio. Just beneath the silence. Sarah pressed the phone to her ear, trying to catch the sounds. It was a voice. Definitely human. But warped, stretched out, broken. She couldn't make out the words. But the tone chilled her. There was something violent in it. Something wrong. Her skin would crawl. A cold shiver down her spine that had nothing to do with the weather. She stopped sleeping properly. Her dreams turned dark, full of shapes she couldn't describe. And always, the sound of her phone ringing. Then one night, a stormy one, the whisper became words. Her phone rang. She picked it up. And this time, she heard him. A voice like sandpaper and smoke whispered. "Nice new curtains, Sarah." She froze. The new curtains, light gray, were the ones she had just hung in the living room last weekend. They were only visible from the street. How did he know? Her heart pounded. She jumped from bed and ran to the living room. She yanked the curtains closed. Checked the doors. The windows. Every lock. The kitchen light was still on. She had left it that way. He had seen it. He knew. He had been watching. Paranoia set in. Every creak in the floor. Every gust of wind against the windows. Every distant car alarm felt like a warning. She jumped at shadows. Slept with the lights on. She stopped inviting friends over. She didn't want anyone else to know what was happening. The police offered sympathy, but not much else. "Blocked numbers are tough to trace, ma'am," they said. "We'll keep an eye out." But the reassurance fell flat. She was alone in this. Then, the signs got worse. A window she knew she had locked was open, just a crack. Cold air slipped in through the gap. A strange smell lingered in the hallway, metallic, like rust, or old blood. And the porcelain bird, the one from her grandmother, had moved. It used to sit on the mantel. Now it was on the coffee table, facing the front door. She picked it up and turned it in her hands. Had she moved it and forgotten? Or was someone inside? The calls came again. But this time, the whisper was clearer. More direct. "I'm closer than you think, Sarah." I'm watching you sleep." She started sleeping with a letter opener under her pillow, old and heavy, but comforting. Her fear became obsession. She searched for a name. A face. Was it an ex? A former coworker? A stranger? None of the possibilities made sense. The voice knew too much. The words were too personal. Too patient. Too calculated. Then she found it. Behind a loose brick in the fireplace. A small pinhole camera. Its tiny red light blinked slowly, watching. Her heart stopped. He hadn't just been watching from the outside. He had been inside. Maybe while she slept. Maybe while she showered. The nausea hit her hard. Her living room. Her kitchen. Her bedroom. He had seen everything. The calls stopped. But the silence that followed was worse than the threats. It was the silence of something waiting. She stayed awake all night. Sitting in the living room. A kitchen knife in her hand. Listening. Then, a sound. Not a crash. Not glass breaking. Just a soft click. From the back door. Not forced open. Just opened. He had a key. She moved fast. Bare feet on the hardwood floor. She knew every inch of her home. This was her space. She would defend it. She pressed herself against the hallway wall. Knife in hand. She heard him moving. Through the kitchen. Into the living room. Slow. Calm. Taking his time. Then, a shadow appeared in the hallway. Tall. Broad. He paused. Then stepped forward. Sarah lunged. She screamed, a sound full of rage and fear. The knife struck. A sickening thud. He groaned and staggered back. She didn't stop. She attacked again. And again. Until his hand grabbed hers, strong, fast, twisting the knife away. He shoved her. She hit the wall hard. The air knocked from her lungs. She saw stars. She tasted blood. He came forward, something heavy in his hand. She kicked, hard, catching his knee. He stumbled. Just enough. She scrambled past him and crashed into the front door. Didn't unlock it. Just threw her weight into it until it burst open. She ran into the night. Barefoot. Breathless. The cold air hit her face like a slap. She didn't look back. She didn't stop. The house, her house, was gone now. No longer a home. It had become a tomb. The midnight caller was gone. But the silence he left behind would never leave her. The stories are never truly over. They just wait for the next listener. Until then, be careful what you seek. Subscribe for more.